Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education by Kate Colbert and Joe Salustio with contributions by Elvin Freites is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Get your Kindle edition or your softbound book. It's going to be
amazing.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. But every once in a while, we're not here to talk about the EdUp Experience podcast. We're here to talk about a podcast that is spawned from the EdUp Experience brand. And with me today to talk about a new collaboration, I wasn't even ready for him. Let me get ready for him now. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the Senior Vice President for Education. His name is Geoffrey Roche. Geoffrey, what's going on?
Doing well, Joe. How about you?
Welcome back for the, I don't know, fifth or sixth time. And you enjoy being here so much, talking to people. You said, you know what? I don't need to be a co-host anymore. I'm just going to take over hosting responsibilities. I'm going to kick Joe to the curb. I'm going to go in my own direction. Hence the new podcast, Geoffrey, that you will be leading, EdUp HealthUp, all about health education, health partnerships with higher education, I think. But you're going to tell us more about why we talked. What was the entire point of EdUp HealthUp, and why is now the right time to start talking about health and health education on a podcast?
Yeah, well, let me just say, Joe, I'm still going to have, obviously the opportunity to co-host with you because, I'll continue to do that with you because it's a lot of fun and important. But, obviously the idea here around EdUp HealthUp is really, grounded in the fact that if you look at healthcare, we are truly at, one of the most pivotal times in our history from a workforce perspective, from an education perspective. And so the goal of EdUp HealthUp is to bring together really an ecosystem voice. So higher education, healthcare, workforce development, and really look at innovative, hear from experts in the field, not only of the challenges, but really get at innovative solutions to solve really a crisis. And so, my hope is that through this podcast, we'll have an opportunity to not just talk, but actually solve through partnership. And so, the goal will be to bring together these diverse voices, folks that, have healthcare programs at institutions, but also folks that have innovative training solutions that are grounded in innovative approaches to, a very challenging situation, as you know. And I also want to ensure that it's very rooted in healthcare, which has always been a passion of mine, but something where we can learn together and hopefully, really be on to some solutions.
So in your mind, as you launch this podcast, EdUp HealthUp, who's the ideal guest? Who are you looking to have conversations with? And what are the dots that you're looking to connect for people who are listening and interested in healthcare education?
Yeah, so when you think about healthcare education, we have to remember that, we have vital ecosystem players. We've got community colleges, we have, four-year private, four-year public, but we also have training providers. And so when you look at the ideal individual, it's a plethora of different individuals within that ecosystem. It could be deans who run healthcare programs, but at the same time, it could actually be chief learning officers at healthcare systems who know what they need within their healthcare system. It could also be ed tech organizations that are doing innovative work, particularly around healthcare education. And, frankly, we need everyone in that ecosystem to solve this because we're really trying to create new pathways into healthcare careers. And so the goal here is to bring together all of those voices, all of those experts, and have them, share with us through this, exciting EdUp community, what we can do together to solve this challenge.
So many times we've had guests on the EdUp Experience when we've talked about health. When you've been a co-host, we've talked about health education. We've also talked about how things happening in the industry, the health industry and higher education closely mirror each other in ways where maybe one's innovating and the other one kind of copies it and vice versa. Both can move very slowly at times, have a lot of bureaucracy, be resistant to change. So there's similarities on both sides, which makes this really interesting because it allows us to take something that affects us all, which is health and health service and health partnerships and health education, and really spin it off in a way that's going to you're going to focus your conversations around health and how we get to the next level of partnership. And you, more than anybody on the podcast, has talked about partnerships, health, higher ed partnerships, and that's critical. And you're going to have those. Do you imagine yourself maybe having some business leaders, some health business leaders on EdUp HealthUp to talk about how they partner, how they might partner with higher ed?
Absolutely. Yeah. And to that exact effect, as I mentioned, not just chief learning officers, but we will also have, chief nursing officers, individuals who, are already working with academic institutions to ensure that, the academic programs in nursing, but the academic programs in a whole host of different healthcare related programs are meeting their needs. And in cases where they're not, we want to have those conversations too. And so, yeah, we are going to bring, a wide variety of those types of folks together to routinely, and the goal here will be to have weekly conversations, at least to start around this, and really ensure that, again, we're hearing from experts with the intention of bringing higher education and healthcare closer together. Because when we see the two work together, we can, you have to solve an ecosystem challenge with an ecosystem solution. And that's really the goal here, is to really bring partnership right to the forefront and ensure we're working together to solve it.
All right. So give us a little sneak peek. What's the format going to look like? What can we expect from you as a host? I mean, this is the part, Geoffrey, where I just say, you want to host a podcast? Here you go. The mic is yours. Tell us why we should listen to EdUp HealthUp.
Yeah. Well, I think, what people can expect to hear is, this is really going to be an action-oriented discussion. I really, want to ensure, just as you have, Joe, with EdUp, that we're hearing from experts, and that we're hearing, from them in a very honest fashion of what they feel needs to be done. And so, I will have this question at the end that will be very, very focused, and every guest will get the same question. But really throughout this, it's really, hearing from them on what's working in their organizations, and hearing from them on what they're doing to help transform healthcare through the power of education. And so it really will be a conversation. And we'll be very focused on solutions. As I mentioned, we know what the problems are. We now have to get really, focused on what we do to solve it.
Well, I have confidence in you, my friend, that you are going to make a dynamite podcast. I, in fact, even think it might be
amazing.
And with that, I'm going to tell you all, as you embark on this journey with Geoffrey, to talk about health and health education, to listen closely, be part of the conversation, share the episodes, send him questions, send him topics, connect with him on LinkedIn. Our goal at the EdUp Experience and EdUp HealthUp and all of our podcasts as part of the EdUp Experience Network is to bring true, honest, organic conversation around the issues, problems, and successes facing higher education, health, and other related industries. And you've got great hosts like my guest. He's my guest today, and now your host, ladies and gentlemen. And before I outro him, let me ask him, does he have anything else he wants to say, Geoffrey? Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just looking forward to it. And obviously, privileged to have learned from you, Joe. So I'm sure I won't be as fun, but we're gonna work on this together to do, very important work and work that, in these conversations is necessary, because this crisis is not going to get any better if we don't really bring the two together.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, he is your host of EdUp HealthUp. He is Geoffrey Roche, and he's Senior Vice President at Core Education. Listen in, listen up, and listen closely. EdUp HealthUp. Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education, by Kate Colbert and Joe Salustio, with contributions by Elvin Freites, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Get your Kindle edition or your softbound book. It's going to be
amazing.